Good evening, everyone, and welcome to round number 3 of the UK and Ireland Radical Races series. My name is Daniel Handover, and joining me once again in the commentary box, as always, is Ewan O'Leary. Ewan, last time out, that was an interesting race, wasn't it? We had really good battles across the board, a really good turnout as well for drivers, and I'm hoping as well, and would assume, and what we can see here, we've got a nice big turnout for this race as well.
We have got a good turnout for this race here today, and it's good to be back on the Radical Race series once again. Yeah, this new car is really starting to excite these drivers just a little bit. We're getting some good numbers down on the grid. Not that we weren't last season, but we are getting some good numbers once again here in Season 3, and it's been a good couple of races so far. We've got some recurring names at the top of these championship standings we're about to see, and yeah, we've got some a lot of the big names are up there at the moment, and a lot of the big names on the grid here once again here tonight. So yeah, it's going to be another good night of racing.
Very true indeed. Yes, that is. Apologies for the small little issue that we're having here with the championship standings. It will be up in a few moments. Qualifying is underway, of which we're going to jump to qualifying now, and then we'll come back with the championship standings before we get all being well before we get underway. But yes, Virginia International Raceway (VIR). It's a very big circuit, is it not, Ewan? This is it's probably one of the longest circuits on the calendar, bar Nordschleife itself. This is going to be an interesting race with these cars. It's a new circuit, obviously, for these cars, as with the entire season will be. But more importantly as well, this is not necessarily a track that you would see these cars drive.
No, it's not. Too often you wouldn't see you wouldn't see these cars on this circuit. So yeah, it's a good challenge to see them on there. We are using the full layout in terms of. And we're not using the infield layouts that really do get very technical indeed. So that is good to see as well. Do like the full layout really, or prefer it. I guess I don't really like the VIR anyway, but I prefer the full layout, and that's exactly what we've got here. Nice and long lap for everybody. So yeah, this qualifying session is going to be relatively important, but also relatively difficult because there's a lot of corners around here, and you can get things wrong very easily.
You can do indeed. We've got a couple of drivers in the background just running their laps. But here we are, the championship standings. Simon Ebbers leading by just a single point. Paul Crabb in second with 61. And you got Langweb in third. Dave Roldeston fourth. Colin Wynn fifth. Matt Hutchison in sixth. Maxwell seventh. Ettridge in eighth. Martina Ward ninth. And then Patrick Charlson rounds out your top 10. And we'll be going through the remainder of the order for you here. But yeah, big grid once again here. And it's certainly going to be, once again, an interesting race as we now focus our attention fully on qualifying. At the moment, currently riding with Graham Brown. Now, remember as well, that as Ewan said, it's a very long lap. So it's probably going to be another, I would say, a good... actually, maybe times are going to start coming across the board now. I think Graham Brown is going to be one of the first to set a lap time, and then James Child being just behind. So... what is it going to be? Straight out of the gates for Graham Brown, and he goes across the line in a time that we may get a couple of other... he may have had an off-track. I think he had an off-track going through. There we go. There's some more times. Yeah, so Graham Brown had an off-track. James Charles put the first time on the board, the 41.0. Tim Madcock goes in. I think, again, it'll be there, because the times are going to start really rattling down at the moment. So both Luke Maxwell and Simon Edwards dipping just into the 39s, the pair of them. It's really going to be who can get into that. I feel we're going to see a mid-39 to a low 39, I feel, at VIR.
It really depends how we evolve in this session, really. In the old kart, we would certainly see the fastest times down towards the very end of the session, at the end of the 3 laps that these guys are permitted to use. But in this new kart, it seems to be on it a little bit more readily right at the very start. Seem to be able to get off to a better start than they used to in the old SR8 that they had. Yeah, this car does allow them to set those best lap times quite early on, and Simon Edwards might be difficult to beat with that 39.8 at the moment, although we've only got 13 of the drivers over the line just yet with a lap time that will count. John McCutcheon's only on an out lap right now, and he's certainly going to be one to challenge. So is Dominic Langweb, who went off track during his first lap, and we're looking at him now making his way down towards the final section of the lap. So times are still going to come in here, but off tracks are very easy to get around here. You can see grass everywhere on the outsides of this circuit. If you dip a wheel or go too far onto the grass on the outside of these corners, you're going to get off track and have to try again, and that's happened to quite a lot of the drivers in this first lap.
It certainly has. I think it may have had for no. Graham Brown does indeed put his car on the timing tower for the second, for his second lap. It's currently best in fifth, with a current time of 41.01. Again, these times will start dropping down more. You'll see these times come down. There's a few more drivers left to go. Yeah, Michael LeMay, one of them. One of the two brothers racing cars. Obviously, we just see that's Paul Clark that's just gone up into P8. Patrick Charles and Jamie Bird. Yeah, times are really starting to rack up now. Still a few drivers that haven't set a lap time yet. Michael LeMay, obviously, as we've seen, just being one of them. As he comes across the line. Second lap, is it going to be one that will count? And I don't believe it is. No, it is not. So Michael LeMay's second lap does not count either. He's got one more chance. Needs to make it, make sure it is a good one. Simon Edwards, we've just seen... Simon Edwards that I have seen there has now put it... There's that mid-39 that I was talking about. Perhaps he may go even quicker. Luke Maxwell and both Simon Edwards are very, very close to finishing their third laps at the same time. So we may see this times spring up, and we may see both of those, or possibly a little bit of leapfrog in between the two. Peasley comes through down into the final couple of corners. 17 corners is what VIR entails, so it's a lot of opportunities there for... So these drivers, there won't be too many laps. It is a long old circuit, but it's a fast circuit as well, actually, to be fair. So that will be, I'm sure that will be keeping the drivers busy as we come across the line. What is it going to get across the line? Around about 245, 250 Ks. We are 252. What is it going to be for Ray Peasley? And it is an improvement on the 141.6. Oh, it goes a little bit wide. That would be, unfortunately, that would be Ray Peasley's qualifying over. He won't be improving on that. But Luke Maxwell, Simon Edwards, what do they both do? Do they both improve? Simon Edwards does not. Only 200ths off, but Luke Maxwell does. But he only improves by a couple of hundreds. Very, very close once again at the top of the field, as we are used to seeing. Not too much between them. Michael LeMay, he's going to cross the line for the third and final time. Is this going to be a time that actually gets on the board as he comes across the line? Yes, it does. And it puts him up into P13. Peter Biles is going to be one of the couple of drivers still yet to qualify. Peter Biles, Darrell Taylor, and John Hutchinson, who's just got out on circuit. I wonder if he's done that just to see where everyone is and just to gauge a bit of an understanding as, you know, what sort of times he can get. Although he's only going to be able to get one lap, I believe.
Yeah, I think he just joined late, really, more than anything else, and that's all he's been left with. So, 9th place with that lap time there from John McCutcheon. Looks like he's carrying on again. If he can find a few more attempts, then he might be able to get himself back towards the front just a little bit. But I think he was a bit pushed for time here today in terms of actually making it. And he only joined, if not just before the qualifying session, then just as it started. It was around that time. And so I don't think he was playing a bit of a game there. I do just think he's time limited and he's going to try and get as many laps in the time as possible. Not sure how many minutes are remaining, but there's still this lap and one more if McCutcheon has time to actually complete them and maybe go that little bit quicker. But I think he's going to run out of time.
Indeed, yes. So looking at it, there is only going to be, as we can see there, so we've got 10 minutes of qualifying. So there will be this lap and this lap alone. Anything after that, that is going to be it. There will not be any more opportunities to set another lap time. So this is the last lap. It's a okay first and second sector. It's not setting the timings all alight, especially, you know, it's about 3/10 off in sector 1, only another 3/10 off in sector 2. So it could very well be. There may be an improvement, so there's still positions to be gained. A 3/10 puts them up into P8. Ideally, though, a top 5 is on the cards, and that's only another 4/10, and you'll be comfortably in P5. If anyone can find that, it is indeed John Hutchinson as he comes down last couple of corners. Goes through across the line. Again, what is it going to be for Mr. Hutchinson? Where's the line? It takes a while to get there. And in fact, no, he has gone past the line. Sorry, I was getting a little bit confused with the track there. Does he improve? Yes, he does. I believe he improved with that lap. With a 140.61. What that does mean, though, is he will be staying 9th regardless. He won't be able to get this lap in. It is going to change over in a second. Then once it does, we'll be able to get you your grid positions for race number 1. In fact, there we go. And then let's bring up the grid. So Simon Edwards does take pole position. Luke Maxwell in second. Paul Crabb in third with Graham Brown in P4th. Baller May takes 5th, Jamie Bird 6th, James Child in 7th, Mike Busson in P8, John Hutchison rounds in 9th place, and then Scott Lear rounding out the top 10. A little bit further down from that, we have Colin Witt in P11, Paul Clark in 12th, Ray Peasley 13th, Michael LeMay in 14th, Dominic Langwebb in 15th, Patrick Charlson in 16th, Graham Brown 17th, Damien G 18th, Phil Jocelyn, Peter Biles, Tim Adcock, Christopher Kane, who did actually set a lap time, although I'm not too sure if he will be starting or not, and then Darryl Taylor in P23. So another good grid. I think we'll probably see around 20 cars starting, possibly 21. I'm not entirely sure if Chris Kane will be starting. We will have to wait and see. But now, once again, Ewan, getting the start right in these cars is crucial. I actually had a bit of a play with this car. I did a couple of official races. It's tricky to launch this car. If you get it wrong, the car bogs down. If you put too much power in the car, it ends up just spinning up the rears.
Yeah, we have seen a couple of drivers just go absolutely nowhere off of some of these starts. And they'll all be hoping to avoid that. But thankfully for them, it's not a very long run down towards turn number 1 today. It's quite a dangerous turn number 1. It obviously loops back on itself there. It's a strange hairpin, grass either side of you. So I expect to see somebody off, unfortunately, and a bit of contact as well, quite possibly, because it's narrow as well. But thankfully not the longest run down in towards turn number 1 on this occasion. I'm not sure if I'm seeing things or whether I can see a pace car in front of the field right now. I don't know. Can I see that? Or am I seeing things? I could well be. As they're lining up on the grid like they're about to do a rolling start. But anyway,
do you know what? I think they may very well. Be. It's a fair point. And in fact, yes, there is a rolling start. Interesting. Okay, so we have a rolling start going in. That is something that we haven't actually seen. I wonder why that is. Strange. Could be, again just be shaking the format up a little bit. Perhaps we will have to see. But what this does actually do. This does negate, obviously, the need to get the start. What you do have to do, though, now is, you taketh and, you giveth and taketh away, is now you've got to, when you're starting, you've got to make sure that you keep an eagle eye on the pack ahead, especially for the people at the back. Unfortunately, the people right at the very back of this train will unfortunately lose out because they will have to wait. Obviously, Simon Evans will be given the green light. He can go when he wants. As soon as the pace car comes in, he then has control. Unfortunately, the likes of Tim Adcock, Peter Biles, Phil Jocelyn, etc., they are going to lose out because they are further down the order.
Absolutely. I'm scanning through the Discord furiously at the moment, trying to look to see if anybody's clarified whether there was supposed to be a rolling start or not here today. It doesn't look like anybody said there was going to be a rolling start. It may be an error in the way that the lobby was set up, but nobody seems to be really bothered. So we're just rolling with it, if you don't mind the pun. And so we're going to get this race underway in that fashion. But yeah, going to alleviate some of the kind of launch problems that some of these drivers have been having so far. And what you said there about difficulties getting off the line. It's not the easiest car, but it's going to be made a lot easier when they're already up to speed.
It certainly will be, as you say. Yes, it is going to make things a bit easier, but then, as you say, there's advantages and disadvantages to actually having a rolling start versus a standing start. Either way, that's certainly going to shake things up for us, which is what we like. We like a little bit of drama, tyres being furiously weaved. Actually, this may allow people, if they can be savvy with their tyres and warming up the tyres correctly, this may actually be a little bit better for some drivers, because if they can get the tyres warmed up and they can get the brakes warmed up, this may allow for a slightly easier race start. Again, that's speculative. We'll have to see. I don't quite know yet as they come down onto the back straight. They'll be going down now. There is Simon Edwards riding on board. Again, trying to get those heat into the front. We heard him, didn't we? He's spoken the last couple of times about this car, and he said he can't quite get the front end to work. So this, for him, could be a little bit of an advantage for him. If he can get the tyres up to temp a little bit earlier, that will certainly be helping. That will be helping his cause somewhat. Final few corners leading into 14 and then 14A. The final 3 corners, and you're back on to front straight. You probably will see after turn 14, you'll now see Simon Edwards start backing up, and there we go. It's already happening now. So he's just backing up the pack a little bit, allowing the pace car to run ahead ever so slightly, and then he'll really start backing off, coming through 16 and then 17. And as soon as the safety car's in, I imagine with the short run down into turn 1, it's probably going to be as soon as the pace car's in, it's going to be away we go.
Should well be. Let's see. Pace car getting towards the pit lane now. We're not seeing Luke Maxwell get alongside here, but he does now finally. Simon Edwards going to hold them off till they get to the line, and looks like he's finally now gone.
He has indeed. Green flag has been waved, and we are underway for round number 3. Simon Edwards, very, very good start. Luke Maxwell got caught napping a little bit there. He didn't quite get the run that he wanted. Everyone goes through. There's a little bit of jostling in the back, though, but all seems to be okay. John Hutchison, the Pink Panther, trying to make some moves. Can't quite do anything, though. As it stands at the moment, again, just very, very conscious of the tyres. Got to make sure that you warm these tyres up correctly. If you don't, it all goes all sorts of wrong. Bit of a battle here. This is Bus and Child, and then Scott Lear that's getting involved as well. Someone's gone off, I believe. That was Scott Lear that's had a small moment. He manages to keep it all going now, though. Going down into the very, very tricky complex of 7, 8, 9, and 10. It seems flat out, but you've got to hit these marks absolutely spot on. If you don't, it can go all sorts of wrong. Seems to be settling into a train relatively quickly here, actually. Again, the nature of the rolling starts, it does allow the pack to spread out somewhat, although in saying that, it doesn't necessarily mean that there won't be any battling for racing. That was I had a woe from Ewan.
Well, yeah, so just off in the foreground of the shot there, somebody wildly off the road, going down the hill through the very tricky turn 10. The fast left-hander there that just almost spit you out onto the grass naturally, and that's exactly what happened to somebody. It might have been James Child, or Paul LeMay. I think it was Child actually. Or it could have been Jamie Bird. Who knows? But anyway, somebody was off. Let's see who it was. It was Jamie Bird. There we are. Going through this left hand. It just misses the apex on the left-hand side there. Actually followed the car in front of him ever so slightly. That was Paul LeMay who slightly went off. Bird went even further off. And so the two of them thankfully recovered. But some of those lap 1 problems that we were talking about, and particularly into turn 1 there, were alleviated by the fact that we had a rolling start here, because it just allowed the field to get more spread out as they headed down towards turn 1. Especially helped as well by the fact that Simon Edwards went quite so early on the front straight that time, as Mike Booston has gone around at turn 1.
Indeed, yeah, Mike Booston goes across. That's going to cost him big time. Down in 17th, going to be 19th by the time he gets back on circuit, I'd imagine. Although I think, no, he's going to drop down to 18th. Phil Justin gets by. That was, I think I saw that was Graham Brown that was on the grass there. He was getting a little bit... no, that wasn't Graham. I believe that was indeed Ray Peasley that was on the grass there. So certainly taking it... a bit of an aggressive tactic there, certainly, to try and get that position. So a good little battle between the two there. Lap 2, we've only got 15 laps here. It's a, like I said, it's a fast lap. The lap times aren't too dissimilar to Laguna Seca, but the track is just so much faster. Up the front, though, Simon Edwards, he's got a gap. I wouldn't say it's a massive gap. The bigger gap is between Maxwell and Crabb. That's about 1.2 seconds as it stands at the moment. That's, I believe, Darrell Taylor has had an issue. Seems to be where you're going now. I wonder if he had a moment as well. Let's have a look at a replay. What happened? Does he just... Oh, well avoided.
Yeah, well avoided. Big slope in front of him, really. It's the Constantina effect going through turn 10 there that really didn't help him. And then he had to take to the grass just to avoid it almost. Into the turn 14 again. Colin Wynn holding on or getting in front of Paul Clark there. This is the side-by-side battling. It was a move, actually. It was a move up towards the front for the white car on the outside. A nice run around the outside for the left-handed bit, and then inside line for the sharper right-hander. Colin Wynn is indeed up to what is the top 10 at this stage in the race.
Indeed, very, very good stuff. A good performance so far.
Paul LeMay, sorry, off the road at turn number 1. He's back on again now, thankfully in front of these guys, but he's dropped about 3 places.
See if we can get a replay of that as we come... where is Paul LeMay? Here is Paul LeMay. Does he just again go a little bit wide? Rear comes round. Oh, I mean, to be fair, well saved, actually. That could have gone very, very... That could have gone all sorts of wrong. Someone else went off there as well. It may have been Jamie Bird, I think, again, that had a moment. Yes, it was Jamie Bird that went, again, a little bit wide down into turn 1. So, again, the front end just not working on these couple of these cars at the moment. This is a tricky one here. Look at the understeer that these cars generate as Jamie Bird goes off once again. This car doesn't seem to be flat out, does it? Paul LeMay's had another moment. What's happened to... Actually, Paul LeMay did. He was having a bit of network issues. That was actually... Oh, no, he spun.
Oh, and he's gone.
That's it. I mean, this race has gone from bad to worse for Paul LeMay. He has to now wait for what seems like ages to actually finally get back on the power. Everyone goes by. That's going to cost him significantly. Puts him down into P22. Someone else has gone off as well.
Jocelyn. It's Phil
Is that
Jocelyn.
Phil Jocelyn?
Yeah, out of turn 10. He's gone so far off, he's missed turn 11 and 12 down the bottom of the circuit there.
Oh.
Here's Jocelyn. It started from a long way out, and look how far off he goes here. So he misses entirely turns 11 and 12. He intends to get back to that right-hander there, but in the end he realises that Arias is telling him that he's going the wrong way at that stage, and he's going to get disqualified, so he has to stop doing that. And Paul Crabb, oh, it's too late on the brakes into turn 1. And Paul Crabb pays for that one. Goes down the order to 8th place.
He does indeed. Let's see if we can. Let's get that replay back, just so we can see what happened, because that was a pass, obviously there. With I believe that was James Child that was passing. May have been Graham Brown. Apologies. No, sorry. Yeah, that was a move with Graham Brown there. So again, yeah, just outbrakes him. Graham Brown modulated the brakes perfectly, and Paul Crabb just went a little bit too deep into the corner. Didn't seem like a lot, did it? But that's all you need with this car. You see, this car, it's trickier to drive than the old one, isn't it? And I don't think that's just the drivers getting used to the car. It just seems to be a harder car to drive.
And this is a hard circuit as well to get used to. Very tricky indeed. I was seeing a number of guys earlier in the week saying it's actually been low participation in the official races this week, excuse me, because of the trickiness of the circuit, as that was a really nice move from Mike Bousson on Graham Brown. Bousson probably arguably out of position really compared to where we normally see him run, but this was a really nice move into turn 11.
Oh dear, let's see that again. Great camera angle from the gearbox cam, but look at that, carries the speed. Look how much speed he carried through turn 11 and into turn 12. Very, very good driving of this circuit. It's a good understanding of the circuit as well, because you can carry a surprising amount of speed into that corner. A little bit further up the field though, Dom Lang-Webb. Oh, that was Dom Lang-Webb and Patrick Shelton nearly becoming one at that point. It was almost, it was very, very close to being one big long radical at that point. Let's see what the draft is like. So it's a very, very similar thing to what we saw at something like Road Atlanta even. It's a similarly long straight. Oh, this is very, very late on the brakes for Charlton, but he manages to keep it in check though. Bear in mind, there's a bit of bit of downforce loss that these cars will be suffering going into the braking zone. And that could be what's causing a little bit of push on the cars, in all honesty. That may not be helping the situation at all. Again, we'll have to see how that really starts to pan out again as the race starts to progress. I think all in all, at the moment, though, everyone seems to be, apart from the few issues we've had of people actually sort of going a little bit too deep into some of the corners, seems to be all okay. Everyone getting used to this new, really settling into the circuit. Just like I said, this is such a fast section, isn't it? Wow. It's really, really cool to see the cars go through there, especially because the fact they corner so flat, so aggressive in the aero, even though they've got what seems to be less aero than the old car. Really, they go so fast through 7, 8, 9, and they're down into 10 as well. It's almost flat out through that entire section.
Yeah, it's really impressive to see how fast they can go through there, and yeah, it's been great to see that through the race. But these cars very well suited to it, as there's a big squeeze going on here. Darrell Taylor on the move right now. Ray Peasley is at the expense of that one at the moment, and Mike Bousson earlier on in the lap got overtaken by Taylor as well. So he really is on a bit of a mission at the moment and gets to the front of this group that is quite numerous back here at the moment. So it's an interesting fight, but for whatever reason, Darrell Taylor has found that little bit of pace. I don't know how he's found himself back here, but either way, he's making up places now.
He certainly is. We'll see if we can get a replay on this, as why, as you say, Darrell Taylor is a little bit further down the order, and in fact, I think we may have found it. So this is okay. Again, it was just the check up a little bit. I think cost him positions. That was a slightly earlier incident. Front of the field, though, has opened up. I think Luke Maxwell had a bit of a moment because the gap has opened up to about 1.8 seconds. And obviously the incident that Paul Crabb had and the overtake that Graham Brown made on Paul Crabb, that has opened the gap up quite considerably to about 5.5 seconds between Maxwell and Brown. So I can't see that gap coming down anymore in terms of out and outright pace for the drivers. But again, a little bit further down the field. This is where the battles are, isn't it? Down the latter half and the second half of the field. Michael LeMay versus Graham Brown. Lap times relatively even, looking at the historic lap times that we can see since the start of this race. But time management, as we know, very, very crucial, very, very key here. Needs to make sure that these drivers manage their tyres. If they don't, it all can go all sorts of wrong. I think Mike Busson has had a moment of being told. And I don't know if that may have been, there was a pass. Let's see what happens here. We've got a quick replay. This is Busson going into, just goes into 11, takes a little bit too much speed in.
Wow, that was great.
Very well held. Very well held.
Yeah.
Kudos.
Almost every single time you see a driver go wide at turn 11 there, they go straight in the fence at 12 because the wall is so close there and there's just no way of you getting yourself turned in time. But that was really good avoidance from Busson, as that's a little bit wide for Paul Clark. He nearly made the place on Dominic Landweb but wasn't quite able to. And Paul Clark is even under pressure from Patrick Charlton in behind as well. Oh, he's definitely going to be under pressure now. He loses the place to 12th place now. This track is so punishing when you run just that little bit out wide.
Well, do you know what? This is probably the most... There's been no... Again, you wouldn't necessarily call that an incident because there was no contact with anything. It's again, pushing that car a little bit too hard. Maybe, again, the tyres are starting to drop off really, really aggressively. That could also be something. In terms of weather-wise, not seeing anything like massively. Track temp's absolutely fine, 24 degrees at most. So I wouldn't say it's a big issue in terms of track temp. In fact, it's quite a cool track temp. So, yeah, I just think drivers are just pushing that car a little bit too hard. But it seems the tolerances are a lot smaller than, again, what we had in the old car. Having done a race myself, what I have noticed is the tolerances are a lot smaller, especially under the braking, which does make sense. I hear a car that has spun. Who was spun? Who was that? Was that Tim Adcock?
Yeah, it was. Tim Adcock has gone to very nearly the back of the field there with that spin at turn 12 as we see this free car battle for whatever position they're just continuing on up the road. Oh goodness, yeah, nearly 3 wide down this very narrow section of corners, although I think that's Peter Bowles just completely backing out there, almost backing out too much. But Paul LeMay gets himself to the front of this group, as you'd probably expect him to, given his pace. But yeah, not entirely sure what happened to Adcock to find himself so far down.
Dear, well, hopefully we'll see that in a few. We'll get the replay for that in a few moments. This is one of I love this livery, the JPS inspired Olympus livery from the old Lotus cars of the 70s, Lotus F1 cars. Absolutely fantastic livery, and it really works on this car. It really works on this car. So we've got 2 battles. There's this one here between Brown and Hutchinson, and then a little bit further up, you've got a little bit further down, Scott Lear and Paul Crabb. Paul Crabb trying to make some moves back to gain some positions that he originally lost. Bear in mind, he qualified in P3, and he's now sitting in P8. There's certainly a couple of positions for him. And Matt Hutchinson, Graham Brown's had a moment. I'll tell you what, there's one freebie there because Matt Hutchinson has gone into the wall. Brown's gone into the wall at that infamous turn 11, turn 12 complex. So again, you can carry the speed in, but if you get it a little bit, if you push it a little bit too much, it does go wrong. So we've got 2 replays queued up now, one of which I want to see what happens between Paul Crabb and Scott Lear. Paul Crabb has got the move done, what it seems like. And yes, it does. I believe that is going to be job done and dusted for Paul Crabb. Another battle here. This is Darrell Taylor trying to get past Paul Clark. Is he going to make it stick? He's going to have the inside line going down into 14 and 15. Yes, he does. Darrell Taylor, good move there as well. Okay, we've got a bit of breathing room. Let's have a look at a couple of these replays. This is what happened to Tim Adcock. So going down, but again, it's T11, T12, so it takes a little bit too much pace. I think the curb may have upset the balance of the car. It would have been okay otherwise, in all honesty. Just the curb upset the curb upset the balance ever so fractionally.
I think so. Just on the inside there, you don't often see that really. You often see someone run out wide through 11 and into 12. It all goes wrong as Graham Brown gets things a bit wrong at turn 10. This end of the racetrack has been so challenging for all of the drivers here today. So have most of the corners really. It's a very tricky racetrack to get right. So we look here, Graham Brown is going to give us an example. Losing it through turn 11 as well. He doesn't quite find the barrier either, but for whatever reason, these drivers are finding turn 11 very tricky in terms of keeping the rear actually planted in these cars. This will be down to the new car maybe, but it's a difficult corner either way. As I said earlier, you normally understeer through 11, get onto the grass on the outside there and then smash the wall at 12. You don't often lose the rear through 11 and then come to a rest into 12. It's quite rare, but we've seen it quite a few times already this race.
Yeah, well, if you have a look again, Darrell Taylor's just getting a little bit screwed. So what we'll do is we'll have another couple of onboards going down into 11, and you'll see actually the camber. These cars are susceptible. One thing I did notice, having driven this car, is the car is susceptible to elevation changes and to camber. It can sort of tramline it a little bit. It's very, very strange sometimes at the front end. Laguna Seca, like corkscrew, felt very, very strange in some instances. It wasn't all of the time, it was some of the time. And it would behave a little bit erratically. Maybe that's what we're seeing here. So we'll see if we can do some more on board. I think Paul Clark's going to get past Paul LeMay. And that is it. Moved, done, and dusted. Although... Yep, no, that's it. Moved, done, and dusted. Yeah, so let's see Simon Edwards. We'll stay on board with Simon Edwards now. Again, we've got a little bit of breathing room. There's a couple of battles going on, but there's nothing that's going to be a possible move as it stands. So let's go through this complex now with Simon Edwards. So leading down into 7, 8, 9 and 10. Again, completely flat. And there'll be a lift through 10. Yeah, bit of braking through 10 actually as well, which is understandable. As we go through, so look at the camber. So it goes up. There's a bit of camber change there, camber change there, camber change there. Again, in a GT3 car, you may not necessarily notice, but you can see the track falls away, then comes back, then falls away again, then comes back. Plus, you've got elevation change, which changes the balance of the car, pushes the load around, and changes the centre of gravity when you don't necessarily want it to, because it's in that period of turning. There's lots of things going on there, and that could just be the car. You know, it's a very, very stiff chassis. It's a very, very small chassis as well. So perhaps the car is just getting a little bit... doesn't quite want to behave in that instance just because the car is so stiff. That would be my guess anyway.
Yes, it's hard to know what's causing it really. But not being a very technically knowledgeable person myself, but yeah, I mean, just looking at it, just trying to guess really what's happened. What we can definitely say though is that it's just very, very difficult. But it's also very important, that section of corners, of course, because it leads you onto the back straight and it sets you up for the arguably best overtaking opportunity on the circuit, if not at one of, if you discount turn 1, as Paul Crabb might be about to use. This is what undid him, though, to get in this situation. There's a bit of contact. He's in the grass again, is he? Oh. Wow, that was so close. He just about got it stopped there because you remember earlier on in the race when he was going for a move at that corner, he ended up in the grass on the outside. He dropped all the way down to 8th position. He's just recovering from that now. 4th is probably all he's going to get for today, as Patrick Charlton is going to find out as well just how costly it is to go on the grass on the outside. But although I think Dominic Long-Webb is actually waiting for him there.
Yeah, you did see there was a little bit. We actually just saw where when Charlton left the circuit, you then saw Dom Lang-Webb was at the edge of the circuit. So you can sort of see why there was no room there. So, you know, fair play to Lang-Webb for waiting. You know, good sportsmanship there. Because at the end of the day, everyone's there to have fun. That's the main thing. James Child has had an incident. Let's see what has happened to James Child. Is it coming down? Where is this actually? Is it a little bit too aggressive on throttle? I think this is coming on to turn 6. Yeah, just too much on throttle.
Oh.
That was an avoidance. Don't know who avoided. I think it was Colin Wynn. Like Colin Wynn? It may have been Colin Wynn or Scott Lear. Either way, very, very good avoidance there.
I think it was Scott Lear actually. I think you were right the second time, as Tim Adcock goes too deep in under braking there into the first corner and sliding off into the grass. It's very painful. The track kind of falls away on the edge of the circuit there, and so not only are you in the grass, but you're also going downhill and gaining speed off the track and going further away from the track as well. So it's really not ideal. But yeah, thankfully back on again. Now, as the battles continue, Paul Crabb drops behind Scott Lear for some reason. I think that was in the battle for 5th position. I don't know how Crabb's managed that, as Patrick Charlton takes also a very long trip out of the grass through that final corner.
Indeed, Dom Lang-Webb will be giving him back that position, as that was nothing to do with him in that particular instance. Again, the front end letting go. It didn't seem like the rear came around, there was a correction. It just seemed like the front end had enough. And there we go again, see the front end. It's all on this front end, what Simon Edwards is saying. There's a lot more understeer in this car than the old car. The old car, the rear wanted to come around normally first. But then we have seen into turn 11, that's when the rear comes around. So a small balance change can have a very, very big impact. I'd be interested to see what the drivers think. So that was from my thoughts about having driven the car and from what I would have experienced what I would imagine they're experiencing. But it will be interesting to see. I could be completely wrong, so I won't be chatting absolute nonsense. But we'll have to see what the drivers think. And we won't be it won't be too long before we do have a chat with them. 3 more laps left to go here at round number 3 at VIR. Patrick Charlton manages to keep everything on the chain. He's got the dust off of his tyres now, so he can focus and crack on. I almost think, actually, in all honesty, I wonder if drivers are turning in too early into turn 11. And it looks like they're turning in too early, realising they've turned in too early. And they're trying to correct, but then overcorrecting when they should. It just seems, I don't know. I've seen that almost there's like 2 turn-ins. There's an initial entry, and then there's a, oh wait, hang on a minute, it's actually here, and then they turn in. I've seen that a couple of times to the TV cam. I don't know if it's something you've picked up on.
We definitely saw it there with Patrick Charlton. I don't know if it's a common theme, but oh dear, that was close. This is Paul LeMay earlier on the lap. And this is how he ended up. So far down, he wasn't able to get that move done on Ray Peasley in the end, and so he stays back in 16th position, which is a bit lower. You expect Paul LeMay to be 10th place, tied 10th place in the championship at the moment, picking up 37 points from the first couple of races. A couple of decent performances inside of the top 10. Dominic Webb, who's had more than a couple of decent performances so far this season, is not having a good time of things at VIR today. 3rd in the championship coming into today with 2 top 5s, but it's not going to be even a top 10 today. He's well outside the moment, really been off it and really not getting on with his circuit.
No, well, as you say, VIR it's a fantastic circuit if you know it and if you're comfortable with it. But a lot of fast sweeping corners. Not to say that obviously these drivers aren't comfortable with it, but it's not as popular. It isn't as a popular circuit on the calendar. So, maybe again, just drivers haven't had the time, they haven't put the practice in, or haven't been able to put the practice in. That could also be something, real life commitments, etc., etc. So, yeah, I mean, it's made things certainly interesting for us. We're going to see James Charles darts to the outside, darts to the inside. He's going to have the outside going into 14, but then 15, he's going to have the inside. And yes, he does move, done and dusted. Good move there for James Child as he moves up into P7. Then we have Paul LeMay's had a moment. Oh, Paul LeMay, is that on the exit of 11? It is on the exit of 11.
Oh, looks more like it's on the straight. This looks quite far down the straight to me. I don't know if, well, you might be right.
Sorry, the exit of 12. Sorry, exit
12, yeah. 12, yeah. It looked a bit further down the straight than I initially thought, but he's clearly had some kind of problem out of the famous oak tree corner, which unfortunately is not there anymore, but this is how it happened. Coming out of the corner, it's just going to be on the... He follows car in front off the road, but doesn't quite catch it in the same way, and so it does have quite a prolonged spin there down the road.
Unfortunately so, yeah. So we'll see if we can... let's just see at the point. Let's just... if we go... Oh, no, we've gone a little bit too far back. Apologies. So if we go... Let's see what happens here. Yeah, as you say. So almost a carbon copy. An absolute carbon copy of what happened ahead. Just unfortunately, there was a bit of an aggressive snap on the rear of Paul LeMay's car. Just sent him round a little bit. Oh, that's gone in. That's gone wide. Got the exit at turn 10. Managed to keep it in check though, but he's got to be careful through turn 11. Yeah, he's fine. And then he's fine through turn 12. So once again, with what happened to Paul LeMay, the front end complaining, the front end letting go first. It really doesn't seem, especially at a track like this, where you have got quite a lot of elevation change. You don't really know what the car's actually wanting to do. Sometimes the front end is going, sometimes the rear end wants to go. And I think that was also something, wasn't it, Ewan, that Simon Edwards was saying last week as well at Laguna, that he would try and make the front end work, try and get the rear to rotate, but then you'd rotate the rear so much that all of a sudden it would lose grip and then you'd spin round.
I mean, yeah, it's a balancing act, and these cars, as we've mentioned many times, do seem to be a bit more on the edges than the previous versions were. So that does complicate things very much for everybody. As Patrick Charlton goes straight back to the pit lane, I wonder if he's had contact with the wall. Of course, there is the new updated damage model on these cars now, much more susceptible to getting race-ending damage than they were before. It used to be able to limp round with quite a lot of damage back in the past, but now the wheels can break and everything. So you won't be able to get round anymore. That might have happened to Patrick Charlton, but out front, Simon Edwards has had a pretty unchallenged race here today. Really, he's one of 2 drivers to have got 2 top 5s in the first 2 races, but no wins so far, which is a bit rare for him. only waiting 3 races into this season to get a win. That's quite a long time for him, but this is what happened to Patrick Charlton. Just a spin, and I wonder if he's just given up from there because it's not his first spin.
No, certainly not, and it is frustrating. I can certainly concur. Paul Leclerc goes off. That goes into turn 1 by the looks. But Simon Edwards, as you say, took a little bit of time. He's got a few more corners left as he comes down into 16 and then through 17. I believe it's going to be. There's nothing that's going to happen here. Surely not. And it is going to be Simon Edwards that takes round 3 victory. And the first victory for him. Good stuff indeed. Fair play. You can see he's a little bit happy with that, can't you? I think that, certainly a long time coming. Considering the time that he was, and what he was saying last week, complaining. And he just couldn't quite get the car to sort. And complaining a little bit about the car in the front end. It's all come together at Virginia International Raceway. Closest gap we have is between Colin Wynn and James Child. James Child does maintain that 7th, although fair play to Colin Wynn for sticking with James Child even after the move. A few more drivers to finish, and then we will be catching up with a few of our drivers. And then once we have an opportunity that everyone comes into the pits, then we will be having a brief chat with our top 3. Yeah, actually, what's happened to Paul LeMay? Paul LeMay's had it off. Another moment. He hasn't finished yet, bear in mind. So Paul LeMay has had a moment. He's off track somewhere. That's coming into turn 14, I think. Is it a carbon copy of what we saw from... That's that's fast into the corner, isn't it? That's very fast. Yeah, there was...
Way too quick. Oh, my goodness me. I bet he didn't know that was there. No. And I didn't either. That's clearly... yeah, probably. I got quite a fright, actually, and I wasn't in the car, so there we are. But he is actually going to lose another place as well. I think he might be slurving a slowdown as well, because he went so far across the corner there and across the grass. He might have been slurving a slowdown. But my goodness me, it's not been Paul LeMay's day. Finishes in 18th position. That's a lot lower than you'd expect to see him normally.
Indeed, I think do you know what? I think his rear tyre's gone. I think the suspension's broken on the rear, in all honesty. That's why you just saw there the car let go really quickly then. So I would put money on the fact there was suspension damage that time. But race is, that's it, everyone has crossed the line. So let's bring up your finishing results. And in fact, here they are for you now. So Simon Edwards does indeed take the win. Luke Maxwell second, John Hutchison. Relatively calm race for John Hudson in 3rd, Jamie Bird in 4th, Scott Lear 5th, Paul Crabb takes 6th, and then James Child in P7. Moving down to Colin Wynn in 8th, Graham Brown 9th, Darrell Taylor in P10, Damon G 11th, Dom Langweb in 12th, Ray Peasley P13, Graham Brown P14, Michael LeMay, Paul Clark, Peter Biles and Paul LeMay from 15th to 18th. And then a little bit further down, Patrick Charlton in 19th, a couple laps down, Tim Adcock, Mike Busson, Chris Cade, and then Phil Jocelyn, of which both of the final 2 did not start. A good grid, another very big grid actually as well, which is fantastic to see. Again, this car certainly gained some popularity, albeit this car may not have been, or this track may not have been the most popular for drivers. It is good to see another very strong turnout. Just waiting for a couple of drivers to jump into the commentary waiting room, and all being well, we'll be able to have a chat. And in fact, I think we can have a chat with Mr. Luke Maxwell. Ewan, would you like to have a quick chat with Luke?
Yes, let's do that indeed. Luke, welcome to the commentary box. Good to have you here. 2nd place here on the race today. Just 3 seconds adrift of Simon Edwards. Are you pleased with your evening's work there?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was. I don't think there was any catching Simon today. He was lightning fast, to be honest. And it was I only really pulled the gap because I had the draft. From him early on, and I could see John coming in, easing closer and closer, and then I was a bit touch and go on fuel. So, what was a fairly stress-free race got a bit more stressful near the end. That's for sure.
It was certainly a difficult circuit for everybody here today. It's one of those that really does take no prisoners. What were you finding out there? Were you enjoying your time at VIR? Were you not enjoying it? Were you finding it difficult? What was it like?
Oh, it's a difficult one. I think it's one of those that I think you have to drive it a fair amount to get reasonably comfortable there. Obviously, it's quite a tricky circuit, quite technical. I've done a few laps this week, not too many, but I've not raced it massively before, so it was a bit of a learning curve I think this week, especially with the new car. Obviously trying to keep off the curbs or at least keep it straight on the curbs. So yeah, interesting I think is probably how I put it.
Certainly was. It was interesting racing. Good to see you back inside the top 2 again for the second week in a row there, Luke. So congratulations on that, and thanks very much for coming to join us.
Thanks, guys. All the best.
Thanks very much there, Luke Maxwell there from second place in the race today.
Indeed, so very good, as you say, strong performance there. But let us have a chat with the one and only Simon Edwards. Simon, well, first off, congratulations are in order. I know we didn't have the best, we weren't all that impressed with the pace that we had at Laguna Seca, but even so, another strong performance. But finally, we have a win on the cards.
We have, and it's at one of my favourite tracks, and I think that's got a lot to do with it. I remember when this track was launched, and we used to drive the skip barb around it, and it was one of my favourite tracks then. And I set the car up so that I could drive it exactly like a skippy, using the same curbs and everything.
Well,
I thought I was back in a skippy. Yeah,
it's just Skippy with more power. Well, no, it's certainly paid off. We saw a few drivers having a little bit of issues down at the top of the circuit, T10 and T11. T11 and T12. Any sort of, did the front tyres start to go towards the end of the race there, did you feel? Or was it just like, was it just everything all hunky-dory?
Is T10, T11, T12 where the tree is?
Yes, the old oak tree is, as you input, yes.
Yes. It wasn't. It was the rears were going a bit on me, but I was just pacing myself to look behind and just trying to do a few more. I probably had 3 more tenths in there if I'd needed it. At the end, on the second half of the race, I went flat out first half. But you probably saw I had a bit of a moment with somebody who was crashed. That scared the life out of me.
I mean, to be fair, you had such a clean race at the front. We didn't really. There was no. There wasn't too much track time, camera time for yourself, just because again you were so far out in front. There was so much battling going elsewhere. But I mean, if you hadn't said that, we wouldn't have known. No, really, really good stuff. I think this has certainly paved the way for moving forward for the season, which is great. I believe, you'll still be leading the championship quite more of a margin now as John Hutchinson in third. And Paul Crabb finishing in 6th, having started 3rd. So overall, I think we've taken some strong points ready for next week.
We have. I'm still moaning about the car, but a win's a win, and I can moan to myself about the car. I'm getting on top of it slowly, and let's see where everybody ends up at the end of the year, because I think we'll be in a different order at the end of the year once everybody gets on top of it.
I'm sure the order isn't going to stay the same as it is now. We will have to wait and see. But Simon, again, congratulations on the first win of the season. Really, really well done. And we'll hopefully look forward to catching up with you in similar circumstances next week.
Yes, thank you.
Take care. There we are, Simon Edwards, race winner for today. And then a very, very quick chat with the one and only Pink Panther, John Hutchinson. John, P3 on the cards. I think compared to qualifying, which we were in 9th, that's a good move forward.
Yeah, not bad. Just managed to make the halfway through qualifying again, I think. So I managed a couple of laps, and halfway through my third to run out of time. So yeah, happy.
How do you find VIR? Is it a track that you're familiar with? Are you comfortable with it, or is it something you don't normally drive?
I haven't raced here, must be at least 2 years. It was a Pro Mazda, was the last time I raced here, but it's a nice track, good track. But it took a few laps to get used to. I think you could see that in the race, everyone was spinning off and missing apexes, missing corners on the grass. Tricky.
Well, I think this is one of the things we were seeing, wasn't it? It is that the sort of sense of as you're going through, and a lot of people just couldn't quite get the car to work with them for parts of the race. But overall, I think towards the end, everyone started to get a little bit more settled in, and again, it's all a learning curve with this car, isn't it?
As for me anyway, I hate the car. I can't get to grips with it yet. Either over brake or under brake, understeer, snap oversteer. Just really struggling with the car just now. Someone said in the comments there that you drive the car with your feet, which it's true. You need to get the braking right to get the rotation right, trail braking. Really tricky.
Well, I'm sure you'll get there. Another few races, you'll be well on your way.
Yeah, maybe if I do put some more practice in, I might get there.
You'll be fine. But John, congrats on P3, and again, we'll catch up with you next week.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel.
Cheers, mate.
Bye.
There we are, Ewan. Round 3 done and dusted. Certainly a tricky, one of the trickiest in terms of track conditions and the track in general. This is one of the trickiest combinations that I've seen drivers have to cope with. I didn't realise there'd be this many small little moments throughout the race.
Yeah, I think we can put it more down to the fact that was VIR rather than the fact that was the radical. If I'm perfectly honest, we didn't see that too much throughout the first couple of rounds. I know we did see mistakes and whatever, but I do think that this particular circuit has provided those mistakes more than anything else. So we'll see what the next few weeks really bring for us. But yeah, that was a very hectic race here today, I think it's fair to say. But another good one. And Simon Edwards once again on top, and he really does take charge in this championship again, looking for that elusive 4 in a row.
We'll see if he can get it. It's a long way to go in the championship yet, but we do have to wrap up. Thank you all, as always, for watching and sticking around. It does mean a lot to us. If you haven't already, please do make sure that you subscribe to the Absolute Sim Racing channel so you can keep up to date with all of the goings-on and all of the racing happening on the network. But again, big thanks as well to all the drivers and all people watching. Without you, this series would certainly not be running. And a big thanks to Chris Kane as well and all the admins for helping run the series. But we will see everyone next week for, if I were to get the calendar up, which I can't quite remember the calendar off the top of my head. I'm sure I'll be able to get that calendar up in a few moments. Actually, it'll be interesting to see what the circuit is next time out. Because this, I believe, having looked at the calendar before the race, we are at Sebring. So a track that you can take some similarities, not all that much, one of which Sebring is completely flat, of which VIR is not. So another interesting circuit. We'll see how the drivers fare on Sebring next week. So we'll see you then, all being well. But as always, before then, take care, stay safe.